Kristen.
Yes.
How the cold plunge, saw the video.
Did you see the vid? Okay.
How are you feeling with the cold plunge and the bidet? How's your whole experience with water going?
Okay,
Tell me.
so
Tell all of us.
one water device is better than the other. I'm telling you, I'm not so much on board with the bidet. It's just it's kind of creepy. It's just very interesting having water shoot your undercarriage like that. So I can take it or leave it, right? The cold plunge,
Not
life affirming. I am telling you, it has changed my life in ways that I didn't even know my life needed to change. I am a firm believer it is as advertised. So you let Lieutenant Cold Plunge know that I am drinking the cold plunge water.
The Hollow Buddy. And we all feel hollow.
Ladies and gentlemen, listeners from all over the world, millions of listeners, welcome to the Hollow Bunny Leadership Podcast. I'm Sylvia Moyer, and I'm here with my keen and cunning Kristen Zeman, co-host to All People Magnificent, leader of millions, inspiring speaker, just an incredible human, former police chief. We're former police chiefs, but we have such broad appeal. We don't just appeal to police chiefs. We appeal. That's true. We appeal. We do that. We appeal to those that want to learn about life and leadership and hear from amazing guests like our guest today. Kristen, what do you say? Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Are you welcoming me? Are you welcoming me, or are you welcoming our guest?
I'm welcoming
Who
you.
is our guest? Are you going to tell us about our guest, or do you want me to tell
Our
us?
guest?
Tell
Yes.
our millions of listeners.
Let's throw Shambo for it.
We have
Who's going to win?
We have Chris Hsiung on the pod today.
First of all, I'm going to tell our listeners about you lightly, and then we want to know, how the hell did we score a man of your talent? So Chris, everybody, Chris is a founding board member for The Curve. It's a nonprofit created by Simon Sinek and forward-thinking police chiefs and sheriffs from across the country. They aim to provide inspiration, leadership development, and resources to leaders with the goal of modernizing the police culture from within the profession, and really from those folks that are in the profession, advancing the profession. And Chris previously served as the undersheriff in San Mateo County, California. Before that, he was the 11th police chief of the Mountain View Police Department here in California. He has over 28 years serving Mountain View community, and he retired from there, became the undersheriff. He's internationally recognized for his writing, his speaking, his real specialty in adaptive leadership and digital engagement. I could tell you a shit ton of stuff about Chris, but I'm going to tell you that everywhere he goes, he makes the environment better. He's the guy you look at on social media to inform how to do that in the business thoughtfully. He is an amazing guy that speaks about policing, improves the profession collectively, and works with individuals to improve how they show up. Chris is the real freaking deal. And we are excited that we kicked off a shit ton of people to get Chris here. And Chris, welcome. As all our millions of listeners are listening, they're standing up and applauding, their mouths agape, but we got you, we landed you on this podcast. What do you have to say about all that nonsense?
I just have to say, wow, it is such an honor. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Kristen. I'm the one that's honored and fortunate to have crossed paths with both of you at different arcs of my career. I know going way back, my former chief, Max Bozell, brought Kristen in, the esteemed keynote speaker, to our department annual retreat to speak to our whole department, because they went to the Harvard program together. So
right.
That's how I met
I went
Kristen.
to the Harvard bookstore once.
Yeah, she showed me the Harvard tattoo and everything. So she's legit. Yeah, so, and then of course, Sylvia, we've crossed paths many, many times. In fact, the one that brings a smile to my face is we're at a sheriff's conference and we both recognize each other as former chiefs. So we did the former chief secret handshake that no one saw.
We did.
And the wink. So that was really cool.
I hope no one's watching. I hope no one is watching. Yeah, I don't want any secrets revealed on this podcast, especially that one. That's big. Yeah. Your secret
Oh,
chief
We
handshake.
don't
oh,
talk
it
about it.
won't be revealed, but there was plenty of tomfoolery that went on, super code. It was actually cool. There are distinctions between municipal policing and working with an elected, and all of it enriches the profession of policing. And we had our little, but we have a shared language and a shared path. And Chris, I'm delighted to know that you're contributing internationally and really doing the work with the curve. So all the folks that have dropped off their kids at school and now they're in this explicit podcast, you just be you, Chris. We want to know, like, what's your start story? How'd you get here? Tell our listeners.
Well, so my majority of my career was in Mountain View. So for your listeners all over the planet who might not know where Mountain View is, it's right in the heart of Silicon Valley. So we're just south of San Francisco by about 45 minutes, surrounded by small companies you might have heard of, like Google, LinkedIn,
Who?
Intuit.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, growing up in that department, growing up under two phenomenal chiefs, Max Bozell and Scott Vermeer, as I started to promote through the ranks, I was baked in a very different mold. When I first got hired, Mountain View was a very kind of typical, would you say, traditional police department, very heavy on rank and seniority, not very diverse. But when those two chiefs that I mentioned kind of came in, Scott first, it was at the beginning of kind of this new change, a new way of looking at things. Ironically, Scott was the one that introduced me to Simon Sinek's first book, Starts With Why. So, fast forward, growing up in that type of environment where you had leaders who didn't just think about what was right in front of them, but they were always looking at over the horizon. What's next on the horizon? How do we prepare our people? But better yet, how do we inspire our people to be passionate about what they do and give them the tools? And so it was totally modeled for me. I mean, I could sit here and try to take credit. I'm not going to. I'm really following in many footsteps of people who have made impressions on me. And many, many doors have opened. I'm just a very blessed individual. I know a former guest on this show, Jessica Nowaski, was my right hand. I mean, we moved through Mountain View PD together. We were confidants. We had that type of trust where we could close the door and just say, you know what? I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing. I made a mistake. Give me some advice. And it's because of people like Jessica that, we had that vulnerability. We had that trust. And it just makes learning a heck of a lot easier. So my approach to kind of what brought us here is, I think we need to talk more about that. As leaders, we need to model that it's okay to not know a thing about what you're doing. Because as you know, the traditional policing culture is fake it till you make it. And everyone kind of walks around like, oh yeah, I meant to do that. And that kind of stuff drives me crazy.
Wow, Chris, you bring up something really important there, because especially in the world of policing, I had a very different story coming up in my department than you did, in that I learned what not to do. Was my biggest leadership lesson was, no matter what happens, just don't emulate some of these autocratic leaders, much of the ones and the characteristics that you have just described, the fake it till you make it, double down, ego. And, my predecessor that I succeeded broke the mold, and I learned a lot from him, but I learned so much from individuals like Max and, your former chief. And so we have these mentors in our lives and we have tormentors, but what a gift to have mentors. To your point, they are the less than 0.9% of these leaders. And you're absolutely right. We need to find them and put them in position so they can affect change in our profession across the board.
Well, and I got to say, patting you on the back, man, most people would not ask their peer. They would not say, dude, I don't know what to do here. That says a lot about your character. And so where you're saying that we're trying to break that in policing, ask, say you don't know. It's okay to say those things. We've had this kind of wave in the professional policing and in society broadly where we can say, look, this person's actions were not in keeping with our values and not aligned with our training. We didn't used to say that before. What do you say about this ego thing. You and I have talked about this a lot. Kristen and I did a feature on narcissism that I think resonated with you. And so I think, what do you say about people who aren't asking, aren't comfortable exposing that they don't know? How do you nudge them into that? And then what is the byproduct of that for an organization?
I think everyone, first of all, I consider everyone in an organization, especially policing organizations, a leader. Whether they have the formal role or not, they're influencers. They might influence one or two people, that they might influence 100. There's two tracks that you can go on. One is the fake it till you make it. And we all know that sergeant that we've worked for who knows more than everybody and never makes a mistake. And what's the irony is when they pull away after a call, all the cops sitting around going, that guy had no clue what he was doing, right? There's a second track, and this was modeled to me by Sergeant Mike Alexander. When I first landed in the detective bureau, brand spanking new, he had just transferred in from traffic. And he sat me down, he goes, Chris, and he was this old crusty sergeant, right? He goes, Chris, I've never worked detectives before. I don't have all the answers, but you know what? We can learn together. And
Awesome.
My guarantee to you is that, you know, if I don't know the answer, we'll go figure it out. If you make a mistake, we'll figure it out. And guess which phrases and tone of voice and communication styles I emulated from that point forward, right? So I began to model that. As I promoted, I would pull people in. And I've seen this time and again, it works at every rank, because when a leader, you know, and you talk about the word vulnerable, it has a negative connotation. It's not. To me, it's like a superpower, because you know what? The cowards can't do it. Those that are strong, right? The strong, inspirational leaders know, if I make it okay and show my people that I don't have all the answers and that I need them and we have to do this together, we'll fall together, we'll rise together. That pulls on a very different leadership muscle than the autocratic, I'm just going to like respond and reflexively just do whatever tasks you give me.
So, do you think that is indicative of the law enforcement profession? Or do you think this is an affliction that transcends all professions? And the reason I ask that is because you can see bad leaders and they're exposed, but in policing, it feels like that low hanging fruit, what you've just described is, I don't know all the answers, is so far and few between. And I don't know, I've been grappling with this question. Is it because that law enforcement attracts these type A, confident, kind of egocentric, not necessarily in a bad way. It attracts a certain, type of person, a personality. And do you think that's an impediment then for this vulnerability that we speak of, which again, I think is strength, though we call it, this soft power, right? A soft skill. And I hate that phrase, soft skill, because there's nothing soft about it. But would you say that it's exclusive to law enforcement?
I don't think it's exclusive to law enforcement. I do think our training begets that. And let me explain. You go through the academy and what do they harp on? Command presence, right? So those that are louder, in control, sort of pseudo translates into you're in charge and you know everything. Equally important, but what they very rarely talk about is emphatic listening, empathy, which can break a suspect, which I've used to break homicide suspects, but it's not sexy. No one talks about that in the academy. So it's really balance. And it's this awareness that you all go in to this career with a very different set of toolboxes and skills, life experience that brings you to that point in time. But the problem is our training is a very cookie cutter approach to, you all need to do X, Y, and Z to get through this DV scenario or whatever. And so we do this when we promote too. We tend to think that, people who make the most dope arrests or DUI arrests automatically become the best sergeants. And yeah, they go on and make more arrests than their troops. Well, yay, you. I mean, congratulations. Okay, you're a better cop than you are a leader at this point, right? So it comes back to that kind of, it's up to us, especially those of you at executive level leaders, to set the environment to go, wait a minute, let's challenge our assumptions. It's okay to push back. It's okay to, the easiest litmus test in any command staff meeting is, can anybody raise their hand and say they don't know what they're doing or they made a mistake? And if the answer is no, well, I hate to tell you this, but you have a very closed, untrusting team environment.
That's compelling. That's compelling. I do want to really pull on this thread. It sounds like, and you have been known as an early adopter. That's just how you're known. Kristen has often urged me and others through her example to suck at something new, try something new, be uncomfortable. We talked about the comfort crisis. There's a number of things. So you're considered an early adopter. What does that mean? And how is it important for you in leading organizations? What might be super compelling about that for folks? And then what are the risks of that, Chris?
It means I was able to program a VCR to keep the clock from flashing. And if you're laughing at that, that means you're old. Anyway, half of your audience didn't get that joke.
Hey, wait,
But
I laughed my ass off. Kristen giggled. She's so young.
But, so let me tell a quick story. Like right next to Mountain View is Palo Alto, and in Palo Alto is Stanford University. And Stanford used to put on night classes. I learned this trick from Max, by the way. Max used to take night classes at Stanford, and anyone could take them. So of course he'd walk around and be like, "Hey, I just finished my class at Stanford." So I wanted to be like Max, and so I signed up for a history of homicide investigation class taught by two Stanford professors, surrounded in a class full of everyone who had every walk of life except policing.
What?
So, and I was a detective sergeant at the time. So I'm sitting there, and this is my major aha moment. And first session, I'm like, these people are crazy, right? The typical cop thing. They know nothing about what they're doing. And then I had this aha moment, like, you know what? There's more out there. And just because it's crazy or they're way off, they're not necessarily wrong. And guess what? The people sitting in the chairs next to me, those are our jury pools. So if I can figure out how to learn and speak a language, a dialect almost similar to them, it's going to make me a better homicide detective. And sure enough, I'm on the stand for a jury trial, and I take that kind of like lingo and I know how these people think, and I'm like, I'm going to explain my testimony in a way that's just, Scott Vermeer was famous for saying, it's not what you say, it's what people hear. So to me, that's a big takeaway, for everything. In policing, we are too isolated with our training. A lot of it's mandatory, I get it. But if we're not learning from other sectors or industries or other thought leaders outside of policing, we're selling ourselves short. And this is why we have been an insular profession for the longest time. If you've listened to the latest Curve webinar between Simon Sinek and Will Guidara is known as the premier restaurateur in the hospitality space. And you would take a second and think, what in the world does a guy who does hospitality have anything to do that could teach us cops?
Kristen?
A heck of a lot, right? So if there's any, like, you hear me starting to get passionate about this, it's like, man, if I had a microphone that could hit all 18,000 agencies in the country right now, it would be, in addition to your learning inside this industry, get your butts out there and start listening and learning and reading from everyone else, because guess who you serve? You don't serve a community of cops, you serve a community of people. It's a super diverse, crazy world out there. So the more you learn from the outside, the more you're actually going to connect with those that you serve.
I love that you brought this up. And what I have discovered in our profession is, you use the word isolated, and there is this, it's this anti-intellectualism, and it is a resistance to sources outside of law enforcement for that same mindset. When you first sat down in that chair at Stanford, is, what do these people know? They have no idea what it's like to be on the street. And, we tend to manifest that mindset, and it permeates throughout the organization. And I was fortunate enough to have a mentor by the name of Michael Neela, who was my commander. And he's the one who pushed me when it was uncool to seek out intelligence outside of the agency. And he is who introduced me to Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It has nothing to do with policing, and yet it has everything to do with policing, just like Will Guidara. Sil and I sat at the World Business Forum, and we listened to Will Guidara. That was the first time I was exposed to him. And I have to say, he was the one that she and I kind of looked at each other and were like, oh, a restaurant guy. Okay, we'll hang out. I was going to go get a snack. And He turned out to be the most compelling speaker because it comes down to service and that kind of wowing service that he does and did in the restaurant industry. There is no reason why we can't apply and overlay that to law enforcement. And yet there is such a resistance to it. So I love that you brought him up because Sil and I both, we got his book. I devoured his book. And so then I was delighted to see him having a conversation with Simon Sinek and you and Doug Shoemaker. It was just, it truly brought things full circle.
Right. And I think there's a thread here between the three of us. We've all been police chiefs. We're all really working in this space to strengthen self and how we show up in leadership. Will Gadar talked about unreasonable hospitality, and he offered make a charitable assumption. Make a charitable assumption is this connective piece for me in this wellness meditation as a pathway to mindfulness, as a pathway and a foundation for resilience. To me, making a charitable assumption is this. Takes me back to the Supervisory Leadership Institute, the Sergeant Leadership School. Viktor Frankl talked about between stimulus and response, there's this freedom, there's this space to choose. And Will Gadara here later in life, he's talking about make a charitable assumption. The stimulus is something happens. I make a charitable assumption about my response, and my response, or about the person, charitable assumption about the person, the response is different. And that's what you're saying, Chris. And I want to really say you're making a compelling case for something that a lot of us knew early in our careers. Read, consume, go to, examine various sources. What you read, is it always the same stuff? Is it all police stuff? I had a city manager, Ray Carriage in Sacramento, who said, I want to know what you're reading that has nothing to do with public service or government or your specific area. And so a lot of us, what I'm hearing is that we really start filling this bunny with this solid stuff when we are consulting a variety of sources and really diving into this intellectual curiosity.
Amen.
Is that what I'm hearing? You're
exactly
making a compelling case for it.
Mm-hmm. And how do the problem before us is how do we convince the leaders across our agencies, right, to have that aha moment? Because it's already crazy enough, the day-to-day stuff, the grind, the politics, everything. So, it's a challenge to really make a wholesale movement and turn it into something.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like we can sit here and we talk about, again, what I call low-hanging fruit, the idea of saying, I don't know, help me, things like that, vulnerability builds trust. And we know that when we're on the receiving end of it, we feel it. And we suddenly determine that we follow leaders who display those characteristics. And yet, it's very difficult to find. And that's part of the reason why our organizations are suffering, because this kind of example to be set starts at the top of the organization. That's where culture is built. That is not to say that you don't have influence over your corner of the world and your division and your unit, what have you. But it feels as though we're trying to convince people of this thing that makes so much sense. And this is how I feel like Sisyphus constantly pushing the boulder up the hill is, why does no one get this? And I'm still coming back to that same question. Why the resistance?
I have a solution if you want to hear it.
Oh,
I do.
We
figured
it out.
Of the world.
Hell yes. Hell yes. Hell yes. Let me get my pencil and my yellow Leo pad.
Get ready. So this is actually where the name The Curve came from. So if you did a Google search on the term Law of Diffusion of Innovation and Simon Sinek, you will see a 3 or an 8 minute video on YouTube where he explains it and very succinctly. I'll give you the 10 or 15 second version. But if you take your average bell curve, right, it's representative of any population in an organization. What research has found is it's the same in every organization or team environment, meaning the first beginning of that curve is your early adopters and your innovators. And Simon talks about a tipping point. If you can convince 13.5% of anyone in that organization or that team or whatever, to follow your idea. Maybe it's culture change, whatever it might be. The middle, the early and the late majority, which is the big part of the curve, will then look over their shoulder and go, I think there's something there. What do we know about most cops, right? They don't like change and they don't like the way things are. They are the early and the late majority. And for whatever reason, we've always believed we had to convince the majority to get an idea to pass. The back end of the curve is just your laggards and your slugs. We don't worry about them. So for your listeners, they might be on a team. They might be in an environment where they're like, my chief or my sheriff doesn't get it. That's okay. You just need one or two people that you influence to get on board with an idea, and assuming it's ethical, it's legal, it's all the right stuff, right? It's going to take off and you will catch the attention of admin, right? And be like, hey, this is a great idea. We can get behind this. If you're a leader, if you're an executive, a chief or a sheriff, you will have early adopters and innovators in your agency who are willing to get on board, get on this train. I did it in Mountain View. All the curve chiefs that you've seen on the board, they've done it in their agencies. This stuff works. It's incredible to watch a movement take place and for momentum to be building behind it. Each of you as speakers have seen this, where you're done speaking and there's about 10% of the people that stay behind at the end and want to know more. Focus on them. Don't worry about the people that take their notes and walk out the back door. That's fine. All of your efforts are focused at the people that want to know just a little bit more. And before you know it, you have a movement.
This is it. This is also indicative of Derek Sivers and his TED Talk, How to Start a Movement, and is speaking to exactly the way that you've just described. Is he shows a video of a group of individuals that are in a grassy knoll, and music starts playing, and one guy goes over and starts dancing, and that individual is a leader. And pretty soon, a couple of people will go join him. And then it becomes cool to go to those who are dancing to get into the group. And then those who are left behind are now feeling left out. And it's called How to Start a Movement. And what he emphasizes there is that leadership is over glorified. It's often the first follower who joins that leader who is dancing alone. And that's how a movement is started. So listeners, go and Google How to Start a Movement. And it's exactly what Chris has described. And with Simon Sinek's bell curve, it's just a funny way to watch the whole thing unfold. And you're absolutely right. It's starting a movement.
Yeah. And what's so cool about that is Hollow Bunny listeners can choose one or two things. They can get drunk and start dancing on a grassy knoll, or do math and figure out 13.5% of their team. I don't know. They can choose. I think to the greater point that Kristen's saying is it takes the first follower, the movement. And Chris, what you're saying is focus on that 13%, focus on the 10%. One of the interesting things that first-time executives or police chiefs say is, I spent too much time focusing on the people that would never change. That was my mistake as a first-time chief, and I was at my first agency just under 6 years. I spent most of my time with the people that would not really strengthen or develop. And I should have focused differently on that 10 to 15, 20% that really wanted to advance themselves individually and the organization collectively. And then the climate that then would be this enduring culture change. So you're giving an interesting case for that as well, Chris.
Yep. It works. I've seen it happen time and again. And I get calls and emails from chiefs that we have these talks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sure enough, this is how, even it can be something as easy like as a book club, right? Who wants to join up? It's going to be that 10% of people that want to start and learn something new. You pick a book that has nothing to do with policing or anything like that, and you just learn together, and voila, you have something new, and you have an opportunity for a shared learning experience that you're not sitting in a post-mandated class doing the same thing.
Sure. So what are the sources that you say, hey, go out and look in a variety of sources? Where would you, if I came to you and said, Chris, what are you reading on the daily, and what do you listen to? I mean, everybody listens to the Hollow Bunny Leadership Podcast. I mean, we know that. The Hollow Bunny, we know. So what do you tell people? What are you listening to? What do you consult? What are you reading?
I'm going to go millennial for a second here, or maybe just Gen Z. It's like, okay, if you input on Instagram, and who isn't on Instagram these days, and you go in your search bar and you type hashtag, or for you older folks, the pound sign, um, leadership, you're going to get some pretty cool, you're going to get the Adam Grants, the Simon Sinek's, the Brene Browns, Will Guidara's, and it won't take you more than a few swipes at looking at their stuff, where instantly you're going to start, the algorithm is going to do its thing, and you're going to start seeing everything about leadership, which is great. That's just a snapshot. And then take those authors, write them down. I guarantee you they have podcasts. Go listen to their podcasts if that's your fancy. If you like to read, go get their books. Go get their audiobooks if you have to drive a long-term commute. The point is, it doesn't matter who you read or follow from. And guess what? Maybe you find someone that's like, this is way out of left field. Okay, fine. File that away. It's no big deal. Keep learning. But if all you do is, not to knock on Post, but if all you do is your only curriculum is Post binders, 1995 called and they'd like it back. But
Isn't it beautiful to be retired, that you can say whatever you want now without having to weigh your thoughts and measure your words?
Yes.
I want to go back, though, to something very important, because you both hit on it. And this is where I think leaders get frustrated and discouraged. And when you mentioned focus on those people instead of the lagging and the malcontent, that whole book club concept, I tried to do that. And what I discovered was there weren't many people that were partaking. It was maybe 2 people. And I got so frustrated that I thought, well, this is ridiculous and it's futile. When actually I should have looked at those 2, and spent more time developing them instead of getting discouraged as to who wasn't participating. But there is something that blocks us there. And that is also kind of this whole how to start a movement. When you have a leader who is dancing alone, you often feel as though you're ridiculed and judged because you think differently. And when you try to pull people over, it's that affliction that we suffer from, is this ridicule and this judgment by the majority, when you've got people right in front of you, those first followers that are the ones that you should be cultivating. But instead, you're wasting so much time worrying about all the others who are perhaps pointing and laughing. And I'm, kind of being metaphorical here, but that's where leaders lose the focus. And so I just want to make sure that we don't miss that major nugget, because that's when they throw in the towel and say, I'm done. This is futile. And, I'm just going to go back to the traditional ways because I can't seem to pull people over, is to concentrate on those very small percentages of people who have come with you.
Yeah. And one factor that contributes to that is, in our profession, we equate rank with leadership and authority. Well, rank is not leadership. We follow people of rank because we have to, and we will carry that, whatever that order is, but our hearts and will follow those that inspire us. And people with leadership can be at any rank, sworn or professional staff. People who inspire us and want to do better. We know who those people are. We like working with them, right? So strip away this, just because I have 3 stripes, or just because I have bars on my uniform, I'm either too good or know too much to do at book club, whatever. Take all of that away. Focus on the character, the values of people, and the people you like to learn with, the people that inspire you to come to work, and you will start a movement in whatever it is you're trying to do.
That's awesome. So how do you cultivate that enthusiasm? Kristen calls it her front row, right? Your tribe, your front row, your people, and then how do you cultivate that? And how have you done it when there's been like this is a grind? What do you say to folks about that?
I think the higher up you go, the more you have a responsibility to obviously care for your people, right? And model things, model behavior. So like at the sheriff's office, traditionally in the prior administration, it was very much like, the rank side of things. And I made a concerted effort to strip the rank and go and learn with everyone, right? For instance, I didn't have a corrections background. So I went into the jails, took off the rank and said, hey, you can call me Chris. I know how to toss a car. I don't know how to toss a jail cell. Please teach me. They were freaking out at first. It wasn't comfortable, but you know what? After that's developed, that relationship that comes out of that, that's trust, right? That's the commodity that comes out of that. And, from that, I can then, that provides kind of the open door to have these discussions. What's working? What's not? How can I serve you? Right. And so it's an incredible flipping of, I guess, the organizational chart to the benefit of the organization and to the benefit of the individual, because the corrections officer I might be next to, they feel like, wow, I've never had a heart-to-heart talk with an undersheriff before. And I felt truly heard. I didn't feel like he was here to pick on me or find out what I was doing wrong. And guess what? If I happen to like cross paths with that person again 4 months later, and then I ask them to do something, I think they're just going to follow me, not because of my bars or stars, but because of they believe in who I am and they believe that I will care deeply for them to the best of their interests.
That's amazing. So, Chris, you have spent a career in law enforcement. You left as a chief, became an undersheriff, and now you have exited that role. So I want to know what's your second mountain, and that second mountain is metaphorical for the book, The Second Mountain. Arthur Brooks talks about, on the first mountain, we're climbing, we're goal oriented, and then we take all of that wisdom and knowledge from our first mountain and we apply it to a greater purpose. So now that you have shed your formal title, what is your second mountain? First of all, are you struggling with that second mountain? Because I know that I went through a small existential crisis when I left policing. Are you struggling on that second mountain, or do you find yourself just gearing up, to keep climbing? And what's next for you? How do you apply it all?
I was fortunate because Sylvia's smiling, because I was on a bus with Sylvia at a conference, headed to lunch or something, and she explained the whole second mountain thing. And this was before I had left. So she prepped me in many senses. So by the time I had formally left the office, I had metaphorically had my hiking backpack on already, right? And so thank you, Sylvia, for that. I didn't go through any crisis. I was like, where's that mountain? Oh, there it is. Like, I saw it pretty fast. And I was sprinting towards it. And it's just, so what is it, you might ask? It really feels like I'm at the precipice of this opportunity with the curve to change the world. And it's not me. It's all of the board members, the people who are all in and saying, we're onto something here. It's the graciousness of Simon, that, we're not like changing policing because, we're not like going backwards. This is just, we're taking where it is now and we're offering something that, speaks to the hearts and minds of everyone in it, regardless of rank. It's much needed, right? It's not like it's soft or anything like that. It's just like all the stuff you as a leader or me as a brand new chief wish I would have heard and believed, instead of having to learn those lessons, quietly by yourself or whatever. And it's not just me. If you were to talk to any of the founding members of the Curve, you would probably be like, wow, they're all pretty vulnerable about how screwed up everything is and how hard it is to be a chief and how much of a toll it takes. And guess what? They have walked this path that I'm walking, and yet they have a very clear sense of passion and purpose. It's like, yeah, I want to spread that. And now, as one of the first founding members who has the time, that's the opportunity at hand, is to really kind of take that to the next level. And it's crazy because we're getting interest from Canada, the UK, New Zealand, and it's like, how do we scale this globally? Because it's catching on fast.
That's rad. It's rad because I think I also shared with you, you're going to have a big problem because you're going to pull the pin and there's going to be so many opportunities that come your way that to discern what is the most meaningful for you and this one precious life you have to live, and to contribute your time and your energy and insight is an amazing thing. But my hunch is you get tapped on the shoulder a lot. And so I guess, because your time is precious and here we are in this space, Kristen and I typically ask two things. One, do you make your bed? And then what fills your bunny?
I do. I think it's because I have time to now, right? It's
Oh, you make the bed. Okay.
I do.
Does your
Not
wife
well.
remake it if you don't do it well? Like
I wouldn't.
Kristen.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say it's like, hey, if we got friends coming over and they can see the bed. No, no, no. This is just like pulling the comforter back over to my side. It's still
Okay.
wrinkled, so maybe it's like an in between.
Okay. Good to know.
I like that. That's balanced. Okay.
What fills my cup? I guess conversations with people to know that I'm just helping them. Right? It's I don't know. I mean, everyone I know who's a leader in policing in the last couple of years has just been put through the ringer. And to me, it's an honor and a privilege to have I don't want to say mechanism, but have an approach that can help them, even if a little bit, right? Help them get through their day, help them get through the struggles that they're doing. So that inspires me. It keeps me going. And it's just an incredible honor to be in this position, to be able to help like that.
That's absolutely incredible. And that's exactly what it is
Awesome.
all of the wisdom and the experience that you have taken from your first mountain that you get to apply. And, and what you don't have now is the bureaucracy of running an organization. So now you can focus on changing the culture. And I think you're going to be just have an immense contribution to our profession, despite, not sitting in a formal position. And dare I say that I think that your reach is going to expand even further than perhaps it ever has. So it is truly an honor having crossed paths with you on that first mountain. And I look forward to seeing you on the second one.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So you want to leave us with a little nugget of wisdom? You want to tell us anything, Chris, that the Hollow Bunny Leadership Podcast listeners can grab onto as kind of a summary, like the big thing that they should really focus on, that you would urge as you look back at your career and the incredible work that you're doing? What would you say to them at this point?
It sounds almost cliche to say take care of your people, but I want to emphasize this. The more rank you have, the more the responsibility that you have to deeply care for. And that responsibility has expanded over the last couple of years because it's been so hard. And that involves you putting your rank down and truly using your character, who you are as a human, those skills. You can't order someone to be better. You can't task them to improve their morale. And if you want to be an inspirational leader in your agency, that means letting your true self come through. It's going to be different. All of us sound differently. But it's the leaders who have done a little bit of introspection, who know who they are, who know what their truths are, and can speak vulnerability, that language, that dialect through their organization with confidence. That's like a unicorn right now in our industry. But if you can tap that and everyone has the ability to do it, wow, it's a superpower. It is incredible. It is inspirational. And our people are dying to follow leaders like that. So
Sure.
everyone can be it.
Sure. I guess I would say a little push with you is I don't think we really need to put our rank aside. We need to leverage our rank to serve our people and demonstrate our characters on full display in every interaction that we have with folks. And then to leverage the rank, the authority of the office, to give access and opportunity and expand thinking and influence strategy and policy and culture and climate, and to serve people. I think that can all be done. There's an ampersand. It's not this or that. To insert the ampersand to be of people, for people, and the chief of the people and for the people, that's pretty bitchin', really. So I think we insert an ampersand. It's pretty rad.
Well
I think we need a
said.
T-shirt
Pretty
with an
bitchin'.
ampersand on it.
Yeah, I have a wall of ampersands at my house to really remind me it's all. You like when I say totally bitchin'?
I do.
I'm in California. It's
I
rad.
know, it's rad.
I'm stoked.
Meanwhile, some of the listeners like Google search ampersand. How do you spell that?
The and sign. Okay, you're right.
And sign,
So-
pound sign, hashtag,
Yeah,
right. It's all of that. Chris, you have a remarkable way of taking complex theories, ideas, and really integrate them with your experience and make them digestible and easy for folks. And that's not an easy or simple skill. You really have it. And it's been an absolute delight having you on our podcast today. What do you say, Kristen?
Thank you so much for being here, Chris. We appreciate you. Thanks for letting your people get to you to come on the show. I know that it took a lot of cajoling, but here you are, and we are blessed to have you. So, hey, to our Hollow Bunny listeners, thanks for showing up again today. Thanks for continuing to show up. So you guys know Ted Madden produces this podcast, and the song you are about to hear was written and performed exclusively for the Hollow Bunny by my handsome and talented son, Jake Zeman, and his accomplished friends, Fabian and Zoe. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, please like, please review, and tell everyone you know about it. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X. And if you don't, just move along. There's nothing more to see here. Keep filling your own bunnies and keep adding substance to others, everyone. Bye.
The Hollow Bunny.
Hollow Bunny.
Not a singer.
When you look inside, what do you find? Are you content to fall behind? When you lose your way and you've lost your why, have courage and get ready to fight the Hollow Bunny. When the way ahead is covered in smoke and you're tired and scared and you're losing hope, you'll open your heart and your eyes to see a challenge and a question. Why not me? To fight the Hollow Bunny. And we all feel hollow sometimes, but the monsters are only in your mind. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if you're brave and kind, you'll be alright. If you fight the Hollow Bunny. When the challenge ahead scares you to death, you tame the imposter inside instead. To change the world, you've got to start small. It takes a leader to say, I don't know it all, and I know I'm gonna fall, but I'll pick it up and come back stronger. Failing forward and moving onward, doing the hard thing and the right thing, forever fighting the Hollow Bunny. And we all feel hollow sometimes, but the monsters are only in your mind. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if you're brave and kind, you'll be alright. If you fight the Hollow Bunny. If you're tough on the outside but empty within, something's gonna crack, you've gotta start again. If you're tough on the outside but empty within, something's gonna crack, you've gotta start again. The monster